metric number is 278627. Today I would like to present my group assignment. The current account balance recorded a surplus of 14.4 billion in the second quarter of 2021. However, the COVID-19 pandemic had a positive impact where there was an increase in the current account and did not continue to slow down the Malaysia economy. This surplus is underpinned by increased productivity. In order to reopen the economic sector, the government set guidelines which is everyone should get the vaccination before to start any activities, especially for working. This has indirectly a positive impact when households and firms are diligent in ensuring that a person gets vaccinated to continue economic activities such as manufacturing, services, and so on. This leads to increased productivity of labor force, which is able to increase production to meet the demand and supply of products in the market. When the productivity increases, it can contribute to current account because the household have the income and purchasing power to buy the product in the market.
My name is Nur Shahida binti Muhammad Zaki and my metric number is 278591. Next is about total export and import are increased. According to the balance of payment statistic for second quarter of 2021 released by the Department of Statistics Malaysia, Malaysia's current account in the second quarter record a surplus of 14.4% during the COVID-19 pandemic due to higher exports and import. Total export in the second quarter were 244 billion, an increase of 18.5 billion from the previous quarter. Among the main products export are electrical and electronic products, petroleum, rubber, and so on. These goods are usual export to China, Singapore, United States, and others. Meanwhile, total import show an increase of 14.5 billion compared to the previous quarter, bringing the total import in the second quarter to 203.4 billion. Usually, imported goods are from China, Singapore, and Japan. Imported goods consist of rice, heavy machinery, car tools, and others. Last but not least, Malaysia's current account in the second quarter was in surplus because the closure of Malaysia's border gate to international tourists. Malaysia's border gates are closed to curb the spread of COVID-19 epidemic. If Malaysia doesn't do so, the risk for Malaysia to experience an increase of the COVID-19 case will increase. Therefore, the government decided to close the border gates so that there are no entry from international tourists. Although Malaysia has a higher deficit, especially in travel and transportation service, this matter is still not detrimental to Malaysia. Statistics show that the service sector has a deficit of 15.4 billion compared to the previous quarter of 15 billion. This is because tourist and transportation service do not operate as usual because Malaysia is not visited by tourists from outside. Usually, this service will be active when many tourists come to Malaysia.
My name is Nurhaini binti Muhammad Azhar, number metric 278482. So now I will proceed to the next question, which is number 2. The question is, explain 3 ways to avoid a deficit balance of payment in services account. Firstly, what is services account? Services account recorded the value of import and export of national services over a year. For this account, services refer to a fees, insurance, transportation, travel, investment income, government transaction, and else. So, It means if a country receives payment of services less than the payment for the services, so that the country faces deficit in services account. Due to the pandemic COVID-19, the services account recorded deficit around 50.4 billion for the second quarter in 2021. Here, I will state 3 ways to avoid the deficit balance of payment in services account, which is contained of promoting the local tourism, encourage export purpose, and boost the country investment sector. Firstly, promoting the local tourism. Ecotourism as a key segment of the industry will able to leverage our beautiful biodiversity asset, which can be one of the pull factor. Then we need to extensive branding and promotion aggressively, so that people around the world who want to see and explore the beautiful of nature and unique creation like corals, fishes, and rainforests are attracted to come to this country. Other than that, the government also could give an offer relaxation on visa requirement and encourage to adding value to tourist experience in heritage site and culture products who has their own fans, especially the person who love the traditional item and vibes. 10. Intensify domestic tourism. For this, we can encourage Malaysians to travel in the country so that we can reduce the abroad tourism among the society, especially during the holiday season. We need to promote and campaign for the domestic tourism, like increasing the choice of tourism destination and have their own uniqueness. For example, nowadays people are more prefer to an uncrowded place and safe for their family. So I would like to you guys to visit Pulau Gemia at Terengganu. Secondly, encourage export purpose. The internal good of state needs to produce more quantity of product with high quality so that we are able to boost the country export sector. But the government also need to help in terms of providing incentive like subsidy and reduce tariff export. This is very crucial so that domestic goods become relatively cheaper at international market. So, it able to attract people to buy it and can lessen the burden of producer in terms of the costs, such as minimize the cost of production. As a result, the price of goods is not too pricey and compete the international market. In addition, we also need to encourage producers to use local freight and logistic services like Peti Kamal Sdn Bhd, Transaway, Logistic Malaysia Sdn Bhd, and others, because it helps to reduce the use of foreign transportation and logistic services like DHL and Fazit. But we need to increase the efficiency of local transportation services. The reason why we need to improve the facility and system because of the rapid development of e-commerce. In fact, the productivity of labor also will increase and can decrease the rate of unemployment due to the high demand of job opportunities. Last but not least, we can also boost the country investment sector. The government needs to improve the ecosystem of investment due to the multi-dimensional policy approaches to revitalize private, domestic, and foreign investment. These improvements give a positive effect to the investment ecosystem so that we can achieve the Malaysia development aspiration through the investment policy. The government also can establish a policy which is able to increase the return on investment. But the government need to work hard on effort to increase economic sophistication, creating hard value jobs, and developing domestic payment so that we can ensure that investment policy remain relevant and effective. It is very important to evaluate, review strategic investment policies periodically. Therefore, having a systematic and solid plan gives a new lease of life to the investment sector to grow rapidly. The initiative could be a potential to improve the quality of good investment in the country so that Malaysia could be a high income inclusive and ready for the future country and manage to solve the deficit in the balance of payments. So in our opinion, we are strongly believe that three ways we stated able to avoid the deficit balance of payment in the services account.
Thank you. My name is Nur Akila binti Azizul. My entry number is 278850. So next is how export tariff and subsidies can improve the country's balance of payment. A tariff is a type of tax imposed by the government on goods and service brought across national border or known as import goods and service. However, tariffs are not only imposed on import goods and service, but can also be imposed on export goods and service. Based on Figure 1, net exports of goods helped Malaysia to continue as a surplus from 2015 until Q2 2021. In goods, the surplus on Q1 to 1 is 66.6 billion ringgit, while Q2 to 1 is 40.7 billion ringgit, and it increased 4.1 billion ringgit or 10.07%, while service, primary income, and secondary make a deficit. Tariff imposed on goods will increase the price of import of goods, but it is difficult to the country to have additional funds to be used to pay national debt and can be used in the future. Also can improve the country trade balance and balance of payment. Subsidies is a form of financial paid to a business or sector of the economy. Most subsidies are imposed by the government on producer or distribution in the country to prevent deterioration. Export subsidies are the form of financial from the government to export-oriented producers. Subsidies can be seen on direct investment where the net inflow occurs. In Q1 to 1, net inflow recorded 1.4 billion ringgit and increased by 2.8 billion ringgit or 66.67% to 4.2 billion ringgit in Q2 to 1. This indicates an increase of more than 50% into the country's current account. In this case of export subsidies will increase the competitive power of export goods and discourage foreign export competition in the international market to encourage local export goods. Therefore, subsidies can improve the country's balance of payment.
And the next part is how the balance of payment can contribute to national development. A balance of payment statement is a financial statement that details the total value of all transactions and cash flow between nations during a one-year period, and is a method for assessing the condition of international commerce. Financial accounts describe all transactions and money movements between a country and other countries over the period of a year. Malaysia balance of payment is made up of three different forms of accounts, which is current, capital, and the financial. With the expectation of a solid growth in the global economy this year, Malaysia's overall POP situation is expected to strengthen and record surplus once again. Contributing to the building of foreign reserve, POP's net current account balance increased as well according to the Malaysia Institute of Economic Research, with a surplus of 26.7 billion in first half of 2021. This surplus amount to around 3.6% of GDP, up from 2.5% in the same quarter last year. The BOP's current account is likely to increase the following two quarters of this year, sustaining the surplus seen in previous year, according to the Research Institute. Meanwhile, the twofold sliding financial account balance is expected to recover with a lower deficit due to greater net inflow from foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. According to the MIER, it is a positive indicator for a Malaysian economy on the outside, helping raise investor sentiment both locally and internationally. It states that the federal government is working hard to keep the current account surplus out of the federal government's financial condition. The current balance may become a deficit, however, it is a relative unusual given that the current account balance should always record a surplus, implying that revenue collection should always cover operational expenditure as a tenet of responsible public financial management. Next, how the balance of payment contribute to national revenue is not only a function of the borrowing countries' decision to set different aims, have far implication and can only be justified using some measure. Assume that all of the goals previous to the plan can be divided into four categories, the first of which is the market of goods and services, for which domestic sources are accessible and which were previously imported. In summary, if a nation chooses a policy's aim in the light of potential long-run trends in its balance of payments as a result of that plan, there should be no issue with building an export surplus to pay off foreign debt. Thank you.